What is up, everybody? This is your boy Will, rocking it solo again. My third solo episode of the TB3 history. And I'm pretty angry. I think you guys all are too. I got nothing good to talk about. Nothing good. The Bucs are playing, the Lightning are playing, and neither of them won. Nobody won a game. The Bucs lost to Detroit on Monday Night Football, 24-9. Lightning had two back-to-back games on the road, losing one to Detroit in overtime and another to the Columbus Blue Jackets. It's depressing here. It's sad. I got nobody. To talk about it with other than you guys listening at home. Colby and Joel, man, they both are on the injury list along with all the other Buccaneers who got injured. We'll get to that in a little bit. That's something that's just absolutely devastating, and it just gets even worse. It just gets even worse. But I guess, without further ado, we're going to talk about it. If you want some good news, why don't you head over right now? Maybe if you're not over the game, hey, we love the support. We love you guys listening to this TB3 episode 103. But if you're not over the Bucs loss, if you're frustrated with your Tampa Bay Lightning, go head over to TB University, our college football show, where we talk about the South Florida Bulls, the Florida State Seminoles, and the Florida Gators. Head over there, listen to us talk about a huge win against the Florida Atlantic Owls and a very big game against Memphis this Saturday. So if you're not over it, go listen to that. Then come back, get a little happiness in your life, get excited for the South Florida Bulls, this very special season that we're so happy to be a part of and covering, and then come back and listen to this because it's not great. And I'm going to be angry. Maybe I get upset. Who knows? But it's the Will Show, baby. That's what happens. We get angry. And nobody's here to calm me down. Nobody's here to keep the show going. I'm just going to rant. I'm just going to ramble. Maybe I go down some conspiracy, some rabbit holes. Maybe I just talk about, whatever. Anything could happen on this, on the Will Show, the Will Special. But I'll try to keep it. I'll try to keep it on track. We'll try to talk about this loss as best we can. We'll get through it as quick as we can. We'll get you out of here, and we'll talk about what the Bucs need to do to beat the New Orleans Saints on Sunday at 4:05 p.m. on Fox. But it's my due diligence as a person in the Tampa Bay media, a Tampa Bay sports fan, somebody who cares about all these teams, and I know you do too, so it's important for me to give you my takes, break down the game, what happened, what went wrong, because that's what we do here. We are the voice of the fan. We care about you guys, and we care about these teams. I want to see these teams win. I'm not just covering these teams for fun. I do it for the love of the game. Until that changes, and I'll still do it for the love of the game. Even if you guys keep liking and subscribing and doing all that, following us on Instagram and Twitter, hit that notification button, doing all that, we start making some cheese around here. I'll cover the team even better, but I'm still doing it for the love of these teams, the love of these teams that I have, because that's what I am. I am a fan. I'm a fan of the Buccaneers. Okay, here we go. Tampa Bay heads into Detroit on Monday Night Football. Joe Buck, Troy Aikman, and they lose 24-9. I think, my biggest takeaways before we get into some of the stats and some of the statistics, my biggest takeaway is that was by far Baker Mayfield's worst game of the season. I think, you can put a lot of the blame on the offensive line. I'll get into that in a little bit. But just missing a lot of throws here, man. Just wasn't himself. I think had to do a lot with the pressure. Again, Detroit got to give hats off to them, putting some spies on Baker Mayfield, not letting him make explosive runs with his legs for the first down, third down situations. But Baker, season high 50 passing yard attempts. He only completed 28 of those, 228 total yards. That's an average of 4.6, one touchdown, one interception. He was sacked 4 times, like I said, for 18 yards, a QBR of 23.7, and a rating of 66.1. Just didn't have it from the get. And I think, just again, hats off to Detroit for what they were able to do. And I think we've seen Baker do this. We saw him do it a lot last year, and 2023 is where I think he gets in his head a little bit when the team's down, the team's struggling, maybe the defense isn't doing so well. And he kind of gets into a trigger-happy gunslinger mode, as I like to call it. He starts firing off that ball, but a lot of overthrows, missing some guys because you get down the stretch, and we'll talk about the defense, but you get down the stretch and the Bucs had some chances to get back into this game. I think you got to give the defense a lot of credit too. They had plenty of bad. Don't even get me wrong. They had plenty of bad on their side. But the defense, they kept you in this game for a long, long time. Probably longer than really it should have been. But yeah, Baker down the stretch had some throws there. I even think, on their last drive, he's got Tez Johnson wide open for a touchdown. He misses them. And I want to say Ibuka too. Yeah, it was, and he short-armed it. Back-to-back plays, that was a touchdown. And at that point, it's 24-9. You're looking at, could be a 2-score game or a 1-score game if they go for 2 there and get it. What would that be? Yeah, that would be 17, right? So you get 8 points there. 24-17, it's a 1-score game, and you got some time left if your defense could come with one more stop. But yeah, just missing throws all night. So Baker Mayfield by far did not have his best game. Rushing wise, again, Detroit pretty much held their own. I thought the Bucs could I thought they could run decently on Detroit, but it really wasn't there. And as we see here, Rashad White, 10 carries for 38 yards. Longest rush of 7. Sean Tucker, 1 carry for 4 yards. Yeah, that wasn't going to do it. And I think a lot of that has to do with, look, we talked about it too. We talked about all the injuries that the Lions had in their secondary. Even their backups. We're going, to their backups, second string, third string guys, all these guys that are hurt. Let me look back here and just kind of tell you some of the names in case you didn't know. But we look at this Detroit game. First, Brian Branch suspended for this game because he mollywopped Juju Smith-Schuster, so he's down there. And then we go in here. Looking up last week's minutes, man, I just can't read in these situations. But yeah, DJ Reed was hurt. Terrion Arnold, Ennis Rackenstraw, Avonte Maddox. Those guys are all hurt for the Lions. And, I think getting to my point here, I think the Bucs were looking to attack that pass game because really throughout this entire season, outside of the first half against Philadelphia, the Bucs have been able to do whatever they want, and it's really started with your MVP caliber quarterback Baker Mayfield, and it just wasn't there. So I think you started off with the passing game, with your passing attack, trying to exploit the weakness, and you couldn't get done. And at that point, you were down by, you're down by 2 scores for most of this game, and then it was too late to go back to the running game. It's too late. Now you got to pass. That's why Baker Mayfield passed for 50 times. But I think the biggest thing in this game was the offensive line, and it was absolutely terrible. Terrible. And really from the right side, the Bucs got the GOAT, Michael Jordan, back at right guard, which was supposed to be a relief. It was supposed to be a relief because Luke Haggard had struggled pretty mightily, and he goes down. But that whole right side, man, him, Charlie Heck, and even one thing that was disappointing to me is former first-round pick Graham Barton. These guys were getting dominated in the passing game, or in the pass rush, really. Detroit, like I said, 4 sacks. They had 30 pressures. 30 pressures on Baker Mayfield, and that's just not a recipe for success. You're not going to win like that. Charlie Heck, Michael Jordan, both tied. It's like they were having a competition here. Who could give up the most pressures? They tied at 9. Both gave up a sack. At least we're competing in some way, right? Graham Barton allowed 6. Yeah, that's just not great. I even got the PFF grades for you just to tell you how bad it was. At least we got Tristan Wirfs, y'all, the best tackle in the game, future Hall of Famer. He had an 80.5 pass block grade per PFF. Ben Bredesen, 86, man. Come on. Hats off to you. Then we get down to the bad, the whole lot of bad. Let's find it here. Charlie Heck, pass block grade, 54%. That's an F. That's a fail. And the crazy thing is, that wasn't even the worst, man. Graham Barton, your first overall pick last year, first overall for the Bucs, 32.7. 50 is one thing. 50 is a fail, right? You think about this because it's, if you don't know what PFF is, grades it out. It's a letter grade system, 0 to 100, right? So, you bring back, you're in school, you're in grade school, and you fail a test, you get a 50. Okay, that stinks. Maybe you didn't study, maybe you guess it, but hey, you think. You go back and you go, hey, just, guessing off the top of my head, stuff like that, going in, winging it. I got like 50% of it right. But a 32, man, there's no getting out of that. Your parents see that. You're getting grounded. The Xbox is going away, the PlayStation, whatever, no TV, no phone. You're getting in big trouble. At least when I went to school, I went to a private school, right? And there, I don't know how it works necessarily in public school because I was a private school kid. And, at least for me, no matter what it was, if it was a little homework assignment, even something for fun, my parents got an email of it. Every time it was submitted, bam, 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 every time. I would have been slaughtered if I came home and I had a 32% in something. I would have been spanked. And I was a high schooler. I was a football player. My parents would have killed me. So 32, for Graham Barton, that's just atrocious. And there's no justifying it. Michael Jordan, 49.2%. That's terrible, and that's not going to win you games. And we talked about it. And, it was even something last year, too, that we struggled with mightily in this Detroit game. Except last year, it was Tanner School, or Justin School, I can't remember. He gave up a bunch of sacks. Aiden Hutchinson dominated. And we talked about this the week before. We talked about this. You have to eliminate that pass rush. You have to protect Baker Mayfield, and you didn't. And you go, well, you wonder. A lot of people are saying, shout out to this Detroit secondary. They're so good. Well, Baker was getting attacked all night, okay? I mean, I think if the O line could have held up a little bit better, maybe this game's a little different. Maybe Baker Mayfield doesn't sail a bunch of throws. That's just really where it comes and goes. The offensive line is so important. Probably, I mean, they really they get everything going. We don't talk about it enough, just how important the offensive line is. And yeah, I know you don't have Cody Mock, you don't have Luke Gedeke, you have some guys missing. You've had to shuffle it around, but this has kind of been the same group of guys who have played the past couple games together, and it was a disgusting showing from your offensive line. I think that's where the game was lost. The game was lost on that offensive line, and needs to get better. We need Luke Gedeke healthy, man. Come on. I know you're a Warrior. You gotta get back soon. We really need you. But that's really what I have for the offense. I think Tez Johnson. I mean, the only touchdown of the game for the Buccaneers, and it sure was a special one, huh? Let's look at it. Let's dive into it. Tez Johnson, 4 receptions, 58 yards, and a touchdown. I love what he said in the press conference. He just started spamming all the buttons on the controller, and he really did. I mean, he hit a hurdle. He did a nice little spin move, but this guy's truly special, and just what he's been able to do, getting more reps, and we kind of see it with your South Florida Bulls with Jeremiah Koger, somebody who wasn't really in the spotlight at all, wasn't getting any touches, and now he's one of the best wide receivers for your Bulls. And Tez Johnson is the same way. I mean, in the first 3 games this season, 8 yards on 1 reception, right? And now you look at against Seattle, 59 yards, 45 yards against San Francisco last week, 58 against Detroit. He's got 2 touchdowns in his last 2 games. This guy's special, just electric speed. So can't say enough about him. And let's get to. Well, I'll save it because I'll talk about this. I think Mecca Buka comes back. Crazy because hamstring injuries, and I said this too because I didn't think he was going to play. I really didn't think he was going to play. I mean, I've dealt with hamstring injuries. I talked about this on the show. I played football in high school and in college. And one thing I struggled with a couple times was a hamstring, pull, and that is just one of the funkiest injuries because you really just can't run. You can try all you want. I mean, sometimes it's like it didn't hurt. I could walk around. Everything, my every day part of my life was normal. But it's like as soon as you try to run, that muscle just doesn't go. It just doesn't go, and it takes at least 2 to 3 weeks to recover from one of those. We've seen that happen with Mike because he's kind of the same way. He struggled with a lot of hamstring injuries. So the fact that he came back after a week was impressive, but you could just tell, I mean, the separation wasn't there. He looked slow. And I mean, I'm still kind of surprised looking at it. You look at it as yards for the game, 4 catches, 58 yards. He still put in some work. So shout out to him, but I think you rushed him coming back a little bit. Probably should have rested him. And the biggest one is somebody maybe you should have rested too for this game was Mike Evans. And this is the biggest news from the game and something that everybody's been talking about. But early in the game, Baker Mayfield launches it deep to Mike Evans, and he's open. Dives out for the ball. A little early contact there too. Falls, and it looks like he knocked himself out. I think, honestly, he was out cold, right? From just what it looked like in his body language, I mean, I seriously think he was out cold. And you go, well, that really stinks. And And that's what I was thinking. I think we were all thinking that when we were watching the game. Like, they said like shoulder injury, and I was like, okay, well, you did kind of fall on it, but I mean, I think it was more of the concussion, right? Like, it was definitely at least what I was thinking. And then you get reports as a collarbone injury, and sure enough, Mike Evans had a collarbone fracture, which he'll need surgery on. And all the reports say he's supposed to be back within 8 weeks, maybe the second to last, the penultimate game of the season, the regular season that is, and he'll be back for the playoff run. But I just, I'll get to that in a sec. So we're without Mike for the rest of the year, and the thing that really sucks, something just fell. I think you guys know what this is. This is an ice cream bowl from Tropicana Field, cleaned out, of course, for sanitary here. But I think the thing that sucks the most is the 1,000-yard streak. He tied Jerry Rice with it last year in epic fashion. I mean, what a game! And that was against the Saints. Had to come down to like the last play, and he got it to tie it. But I think it was really important for him, especially in his career, and it was important to him. And now that's surely over. Just when he comes back again, like I said, second to last week of the season. I mean, I would love some crazy games, some video game numbers, but it's just not going to happen. So I really feel for him, and it stinks not seeing him, man. This is I said it on the Twitter. I said if he's not one of the best Buccaneers of all time, he is the best Buccaneer of all time. And so sad to see him go out like that and to see him not get that. But I think that at the end of the day, he's still Super Bowl champion, and he's surely on his way to Canton, Ohio, and he'll be in the Hall of Fame. But just one thing too to take a note on is collarbone injury and a fracture and all the surgery, recovering from it. And I don't want to be a Debbie Downer with this, and I really hope he comes back. But I would just say, just be prepared. Enjoy Mike Evans while he is still a Buccaneer. There's some stuff coming up next year. Again, you're 1 year older. That streak is over. You are on a contract year, so if he is able to come back, which I hope he does, I'm not going to speculate on it. Enjoy Mike Evans while he is still a Buccaneer, and hopefully we get him for a playoff run. And maybe go out with a Super Bowl. Wouldn't that be nice, guys? Wouldn't that be nice? A Super Bowl for probably two guys retiring, two GOATs on both sides of the ball, Mike Evans and Levante David. So, we're praying for you, Mike Evans. We love you. Get well soon, man. But that really, that put a huge storm cloud over this game, and it was a frustrating watch, and I think that really wraps it up for the defense, but or offense, sorry, but we will get to the defense here because, like I said, I mean, they kept you in this game, and there are some good things to take away from this game, especially some of the sacks and able to put some pressure on Goff, which we said was important, but where the Bucs really faltered was in that running game. And I talked to you guys last week. I said, Detroit is super run heavy on first down, and you got to eliminate that. You got to get it to second and long and third and long, and it really shortens up that playbook. It doesn't allow the Lions to open it up and do different things, and they just weren't able to do that, and they really weren't able to stop the run at all. You look at Jahmyr Gibbs, 17 carries, 136 yards on the ground, an average of 8 yards a carry, 2 touchdowns, and he busted one for 78 yards, and I hate that. I hate explosives, and especially with the Bucs, you got to shut down the run game. You got guys, I know you don't have Kalijah Cansey, but you have Vita Vea in there. You shouldn't be getting gashed up the middle for 78 yards. That's just unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And he torched you. He torched you in the passing game too. I mean, he did it all. 3 receptions, 82 yards. And he did it a couple times. And we've said this. I mean, we've said this game after game. And I think it's just become a necessity that Jason Light has to do something because we can't seem to stop running backs in the passing game coming out of the backfield. We just can't do it. I mean, Jahmyr Gibbs wide open and nobody's there. Nobody is there. And this was like the second play of the game, and he busts one for 30 yards. Unacceptable. I just can't believe that, man. And we just didn't do anything, and we haven't done anything this season. And, this is a tweet from Greg Allman, the GOAT. This is where I get all my Bucs information. He's my number one insider. Greg, if you're listening, I love you, my boy. He's liked a couple of our Twitter posts too. I feel special when he does, because he's my guy. Obviously, I keep touching that, and I'm gonna lose it. Hey, this right here. I think the battery's dead. Yeah, this is a USF fan. This was my gift for being a season ticket holder. So, and I broke it. Okay, missed the couch, missed the chair. But don't even think about that. Let me tell you this, because this can get you mad. This can get you real mad. Bucs defense this year, they've given up a league high 441 receiving yards to running backs this season. And we looked at it week 1. Bijan Robinson, 100 yards in the air. Jahmyr Gibbs for the Lions, like I just said, 82. And then last week, Christian McCaffrey, 57. And it hasn't gotten fixed. And I think a lot of it has to do with the man who wears number 8, Servachier Dennis. We go back to the start of the show. This is a guy that I saw at Pitt. I watched his film. This was a field general. And I really thought, this is going to be somebody who's going to complement Levante David. This is going to be somebody who takes over the role that Levante David has in the season. And then we all know how the rest of it goes. Bunch of injuries that has really derailed, his first 2 seasons in the NFL. And then this year, man, this is where we're like, okay, we finally got him. We finally got Servachier Dennis, the piece we were missing from this defense. And he just every week is lost in coverage. Lost. And I really think Jason Light, if you're hearing this right now, or maybe we could communicate telepathically if we have the technology for it, I think we have to address the linebacker situation. If we could get a pass coverage linebacker, and it's just frustrating too, because here I am sitting on draft night. And look, I love the Mika Ibuka. I love all the picks that the Bucs made. But at the same time, man, I told you, I said we needed a linebacker. We needed a pass coverage linebacker. We desperately needed defense, right? And I'm not saying we should go back and change it, right? I'm not saying that, because of Mika Ibuka, he's going to be one of the best receivers in the NFL. I guarantee you that. He's already shown that he can do that. But, you couldn't have addressed it in free agency? You couldn't have done that? You could have made a trade or something to get a savvy veteran? Because Levante David, Unk still got it, right? But he's slowing down. And we just have no depth either. There's just nobody to come in. And it's just frustrating that we see this week after week and they don't fix anything. I know a lot of people are saying, we need an edge rusher, because I'll get to that too, because that really stinks. But we need a linebacker desperately. We really do. Because, I don't know how long you can go with this. It's every game. And you're looking at it coming up with the Saints. You know who we're playing. And you know somebody on that team who could have a field day against us if we're not careful. But anyways, that's my rant for the linebackers there. absolutely gashed in the passing game and the running game. But look at Jared Goff, man, 20 of 29. Did it in the air, too, 241 yards. One touchdown, did force them to an interception. Jamel Dean, most interceptions in a single season for him with 3. That's tied for the lead in the NFL. But the Bucs are able to get to him, and I think that's what we'll talk about here. I thought the Bucs, for the most part, were able to get some pressure, some timely hits. You looked at Tyke Smith getting a sack. Servace Dennis, he did have one, but passing. It's not really running game. Anthony Nelson with one. Yaya Diaby. I thought Yaya Diaby had a great game. 5 tackles, 2 TFLs, a QB hit and a sack. I mean, have a day, man. Seriously. But it wasn't enough, and you gave up too many explosives. Especially, Amon-Ra St. Brown, too. That's another one. 86 yards on 6 receptions, a 27-yard catch. Brock Wright, their tight end, he had 23 yards. He had a 14-yard catch in that game, 7.7 average yards per reception. You just really couldn't stop him. That's why I said, they opened up the playbook because you weren't able to stop that running game. They were able to gash you multiple times, and you're able to let him work, let Jared Goff work quick out of the pocket. But overall, you did keep him in the game, so I will give them that credit, right? Yeah, well, okay, so I guess another injury news on that side of the ball. Hassan Reddick goes down, man. Hassan Reddick goes down with a knee and ankle injury. As of right now, I'm filming this at 10:20, at 11:01. Sorry, on 10/22, October 22nd, and the MRI hasn't come back. But Todd Bowles did say that he would miss some time. We don't know the extent, but you're not going to see him for a while. And I agree. I'd love to get some edge rush help too, but I think if you do anything first, it should be a linebacker because I think, I think you got Anthony Nelson. He can do the job. You've been getting good pass rush interior wise. Vita Vea's done a good job. Elijah Roberts has done a great job. Talk about him, man. What? Again, a great pick by Jason Light. He's really come on as a great defensive lineman for us. But I think this is a call to action for Chris Braswell, man. We really need you to step it up. I think that's partially too why Yaya Diaby has looked a lot better this year is because Hassan Reddick has come in and we have 2 edge rushers now. And, you got to slide your protection one way. You got to force the running back to block somebody or put a tight end, but you can't do it on both sides. So one of them has been getting free, and they've done a decent job. I mean, they got a ton of pressures this year. I don't know if they still lead the league in pressures, but at one point they did. So, yeah, somebody's got to step it up there. For real, I mean, I think it's got to be Chris Braswell. Got to step it up for the rest of the season, depending on how long we have Hassan Reddick out. Yeah, but I think for me, that's really it for both sides of the ball. We're gonna put a pin in that on that disgusting. Well, you know what? Here we go. Here we go. Obviously, I mean, refereeing, how many times we have to say it's been atrocious, but I think that's expected now. It's expected. The NFL has a referee problem, and it's not just the Bucs. Like, I don't want us to think, I don't want to say, oh, the refs hate us. The refs are always against us. They're against everybody. They're terrible. The refs suck. And, I'm so close because I don't want to. Because I think a lot of times when you go down this route, and look at us at TB3, man, we're starting, right? It's been a grind. These first 2 years have been a grind, but we've been growing exponentially. And that's a lot of thanks to you guys, right? But I feel like I'm at a crossroads because if you go down the path of the NFL being rigged, It's almost like a curse word. It's almost like a curse word because you can't really say that. You can't really have a big stance or a big following if you think the NFL's rigged. I mean, do you see any of the guys like Peter Schrager, Stephen A., Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky? Do you see those guys going in talking about being rigged and being fixed? You don't, right? You don't. And I'd love for TB3 to get to that point. I'd love for us to talk ball on a big stage and have more people listen to us because I think all three of us, man, we do a pretty good job getting you information. I think we all got pretty good takes. And, if you listen and go back to our track record, a lot of times we've been right. Sometimes we haven't been right at the same time. But a lot of us, week to week, have been right on a lot of things. And we've done a lot of things that I think the local media here hasn't done. So, yeah, it's like you want to say it's rigged, but you really can't. But you just, again, there were some bad calls in that game for sure. I think the interception, tie goes to the receiver, I really thought. Apparently it didn't anymore. And then, I think, too, the refs letting Dan Campbell's CTE microwave fudge brain figure out, getting the neurons firing to call the challenge flag there on that Kate Otten first down. They sure didn't let the Bucs, quick snap it or anything or get to the line. They let him have all the time in the world to call a challenge flag, right? And then they review it because they challenged, what do they do here? Well, they challenged a catch, right? They challenged a catch, and they ruled that complete. And then they're like, we're going to go back, and now we're going to say he's short after review, right? We got a second look. And that's crazy to me because when have we ever seen that? That's bizarre. Baker said it was bizarre. Todd Bowles, he was a little more nonchalant about it, but never seen that. But just the thing was in this game is that you knew you weren't going to get the calls. You knew you weren't going to get the calls. You saw all week how Detroit got screwed out of a bunch of stuff in the Kansas City game. In my opinion, Detroit got belt. They got belt in that game. It really didn't matter about the penalties or some of the reviews or some of the stuff the refs were or weren't calling. Detroit got dominated in that game. And I think you should have gone in knowing you weren't going to get those calls. And they should have come down to that. I think Josh Grizzard, a terrible game plan. I think I said it earlier in the show, you abandoned the run game too early because you got caught with the eye candy that Detroit was down a bunch of DBs. I think you didn't do a good enough job working that run game, making your offense balance. I think, too, you didn't respect their pass game or pass rush enough. You didn't respect it. And you left your O-line struggling big time. So, yeah, I think a lot of that stuff in that game was stupid, but you should have gone in knowing that was going to happen, and you should have come in better prepared, and you shouldn't have looked so sloppy. That was embarrassing. At the end of the day, it was embarrassing, and the Bucs got handled. But I think here we're going to get to the positive. We're going to get to the silver lining. I think we won't see the Bucs play like that again. I don't think we will. I think this is a different team. We've seen this team lose a couple stretches of games. We've seen, seemed like, especially, in 2023, even somewhat last year, although I predicted it, again, that seemed like all hope was lost. Last year, I predicted they would be probably around 5-5 at the bye week, and they were. But I think this year's different. I don't think they're going to lose a string of games. And I think they're going to start off with a big win against a little brother now in the division, the New Orleans Saints. We're going to forget about the 20 teens. We're going to forget about 2019 through 2021. We're just going to forget about it. Except 2020. I mean, we whooped them in the playoffs. But we're going to forget about that because now their little brother, their run's over. Drew Brees ain't here to save you now. You're stuck with Spencer Rattler. And that's who the Bucs face this Sunday, 4:05 p.m. Spencer Rattler and the New Orleans Saints. And I think for this game, it's really on the defense, man. It is really on this defense. You got. I said it, man. You look at the rushing or the pass yards out of the backfield with running backs, and look who you're playing. Alvin Kamara, notorious for catching passes out of the backfield. One of the best in the league at doing that. You got to shut him down because you've showed all year on film that that's how teams can exploit you. And I'll give credit to the Saints for being as bad as they are. I think their defense is really nothing to worry about here. The Saints can put up some points at times. They can put up some points. So I think the biggest matchup here is Servace Dennis, Levante David stopping Alvin Kamara out of the backfield. You have to do it. You have to do it. I think another thing is keeping Spencer Rattler in the pocket. That's another big thing for this defense, and it's again on Chris Braswell to step up. It's on Anthony Nelson. I have faith in him, but you gotta get pressure on him. I got a stat for you here. Last week against the Bears, Spencer Rattler had 231 yards and 2 touchdowns when he was throwing from inside the pocket. But when he got rushed and they're getting after him and he had to throw on the run, he was 1 for 4 with 2 yards and 2 interceptions. So you got to put pressure on him. You got to make him scramble, make him uncomfortable, and yeah, you got to make his day uncomfortable. We've seen it last year. The Bucs, Colby said, gave some notes, and the Bucs had trailed the Saints both games last year in the first half. So you got to get off to a hot start, but it really comes down to making him uncomfortable and stopping Alvin Kamara. I think too, what this team should do is if they can stay healthy. If these guys can stay healthy this game, I think you should run some heavy man. I think blitz. I don't think, they got Chris Olave and Rashid Shaheed, but I think overall you match up well with them with all your cornerbacks. So I think you really have to, go man, more zone. I think the Bucs struggle a lot with zone, and we've seen it statistically this year. They've done a lot better defensively when they're in man over zone. So that's really my keys to the game. I think offense, one, you're not facing Aiden Hutchinson. You're facing old man Cameron Jordan, just grasping for relevancy. Unk don't got it. I think the best part of his season now is doing a little silly photo for the NFL Media Day. Other than that, man, not worried about him, but you got to protect Baker. You got to stay healthy and just get through this game, get to the bye week. I think the Bucs win pretty handily. I think they're going to be fired up. Like I said, this isn't the same Bucs team from years ago. They're not going to snowball. We're not going to see any snowballing. The Bucs are going to win. Give it to me 38-27. Bucs win. Let's get to the injury report, though, before we transition to your Tampa Bay Lightning. No good news there. So, but man, Wednesday, Teddy Bridgewater, man, didn't practice with teeth injury. Levante David didn't practice today. He's banged up with a knee and rib injury. Emeka Ibuka didn't practice today. Hamstring. Greg Gaines, toe injury, didn't practice. Chris Godwin didn't practice. Haggard didn't practice. Bucky Irving, Christian Izzian, Hassan Reddick, Antoine Winfield Jr., all those guys. And some of them might be rest, but they are dealing with something. They're all banged up. Then limited. Ben Brederson, the shoulder injury, he was limited today. Devin Culp, Michael Jordan, Baker Mayfield was limited today. Zion McCollum, he was able to go full, so that's a good sign. And Josh Williams, who had a concussion, he was also able to go. So there's some good news there, right? There is some good news there, but I think, a lot of the same stuff. You won't see Hassan Reddick, of course. You won't see Mike Evans. We already talked about those. You probably won't see Chris Godwin again or Bucky Irving until after the bye week, which Chris Godwin gets a little scary because they've been a little weird with that injury, and he was like kind of day to day, and then now it's just these inactives are building up. So the Bucs are going to be battered again, but let's just get the win and get through it, man. Get to the bye week, get rested, and hopefully we come back against the Patriots in a couple weeks, and hopefully get Gedeke back. Hopefully Chris Godwin and Bucky. And hopefully nobody else goes down in this game. But yeah, I think the Bucs win. I think they're going to be fired up. So make sure to watch. Tune in 4:05 p.m. on Fox. Go Buccaneers. But that's it, man. I can't. I think I said what I needed to say. I think. There wasn't a whole lot sugarcoat. There was some stuff that went well, of course. Like I said, I think the defense did okay outside of just getting gashed. You still had your chances at the end of the day. There's no quitting this team. But just a lot of bad. A lot of bad. And it gets worse. It gets worse because your Tampa Bay Lightning took on the Detroit Red Wings. A little 2-game road stretch here. And lost 2-1 in overtime to the Detroit Red Wings. They picked up a point, though, thankfully. A much needed point. But this game started off, Kucherov, he was a late scratch. He was sick. So we saw a couple moves made around because of that. Max Crozier is injured too, so Darren Radish was also in the lineup for this game. Curtis Douglas and Jack Finley were on the fourth line together. Connor Geeky and Anthony Cirelli were on the same line, and Gonsalves and Point were on the same line. And I don't know if it was just different lines, but man, that sure didn't help because it was just complete domination by your Detroit, not your Detroit. It was complete domination by the Red Wings. I mean, it just seems like, I even think, what was it? It was the playoff game when we lost to Detroit. I'm pretty sure Lightning lost on the same day to the Red Wings. And here we go in the same weekend. The Lightning lose and the Bucs lose. So that really stinks. But yeah, the Lightning, didn't even get a shot on goal until the 5-minute mark. 6 shots in the first period, 5 in the second. Just no real scoring chances. Really, I think Curtis Douglas had one to start the third, and then I'd say the big one again was Gensel. But that we're already into the third period, and that's the first time you have a real opportunity to score a goal. Just disgusting play, just getting dominated. But that turned into some good, right? I think Gensel really led the way there in that third period. They ended up out shooting the Red Wings in the entire game, and it all came from the third period. And J.J. Moser is finally able to put one in. And this was after Detroit scored early in the game, so it's 1-1 here. Lightning come back, and we go to overtime. So you secure a point. So you go, okay, that's great. This team's fighting. They stayed in it. We get to overtime. You get that point. But again, it's just the same old thing where it's like you play so bad and you get lucky that Detroit didn't skate you out of the building. You're lucky that it's a 1-0 game going into the third period, right? And overtime, I think the good takeaway from this game is I thought overtime was actually pretty decent. I think you had a 2-on-1 pretty early with Hedman and Hagel. And then Brandon Hagel had another great opportunity right in front of the net. And then, it was just demoralizing because then Victor Hedman has a perfect opportunity for a nice little tap-in goal there. but it's a little too strong. Ricochets off the boards, and Larkin takes it up for a one-on-one, puts it in, and you lose. Yeah, so I think I did like what I saw from overtime a little bit better. It just stinks about the ending, and we just go back to the same thing. Just you can't play a good 3 periods of hockey, getting outshot pretty badly in the first 2 periods, and yeah, you make a valiant effort, but you come away with one less point in the standings. And I thought power play wasn't that great either. They went 0 for 3, so that was a little bit of a concern. But yeah, another loss, and that's it really. That's really all I have to say about that game. Then we get to the next day in Columbus against the Blue Jackets. That's the team who's really been struggling, right? I mean, so you think, hey, maybe we get a chance here. Maybe we're right or wrongs. But we start off the game. Curtis Douglas, Mr. 6'9" himself, gets a huge fight with Olivier. Got a decent uppercut, but he gets taken down, and that kind of means you lost the fight, so that stinks. And you go down 1-0 after that when Eric Chernak just couldn't clear the puck, and he almost really assists it to Kent Johnson because he can't clear it. He's standing right in front of the net. Johansson's in, and Kent Johnson gets a little goal in. But I think too, even though Lightning take the lead in this period in the first, it really could have been a lot worse. A lot of pings, a lot of great scoring opportunities for the Blue Jackets. But Lightning were able to tie it up with Ryan McDonough. I think we've talked about, and a lot of the fans have talked about too, is we got to shoot the puck more. We really have to shoot the puck more. And good things happen when you shoot the puck, and that's exactly what happened with Ryan McDonough. Kind of a wacky shot, and it goes in, and it's 1-1, and then a couple minutes later on the power play, they're able to make it 2-1. So you think, okay, maybe this is the success we need, and maybe we're gonna start rolling here. Second period though wasn't that great. Lightning were pretty much dominated in the second period. A lot of pings again in this period. A lot of shots off the posts. A lot of great opportunities for Columbus. And again, the Lightning couldn't shoot in this period either. Didn't get their first shot in until the 6-minute mark of the second period. And just after they get that shot, they give up a goal. Just sliced right through the defense, and it's 2-2. And could have been 3-2 pretty quickly after that. Hagel turns the puck over the neutral zone, and shout out Johansson because he made a slew of saves back-to-back on a couple rebounds. Keep that game tied, but didn't matter though because right at the start of the third period, the Lightning give up a goal. And that was all she wrote. Columbus wins 3-2. And I mean, like I said, and I'll give you some stats here because it felt like, and I assume if you're watching too, I mean, that game could have been a lot worse. This isn't shots on goal. This is shot attempts. This was just through 2 periods. Lightning being outshot 51-27. 21-8 Columbus had on scoring chances and high danger, 11-5 for Columbus. And like I said, they were lucky that game was even tied going into the third period. Extremely lucky. But they lose 2 games. They lose both games of this little road series. And as we look ahead here, got a nice stretch of home games. What is this? You're going to be listening to this tomorrow. So they are at home against the Chicago Blackhawks, 6:45 against Anaheim, the Ducks at 5 p.m. on October 25th. Shout out to the Ducks, man. Go look at their giveaway for their home opener. I think that might be one of the greatest stadium giveaways I've ever seen. Okay. So shout out to them for that. Then they close out their little homestand on October 26th at 5 p.m. against the Knights. And then they're on the road against Nashville. You know who we're seeing there, 7:45 p.m. on October 28th. So 4 games before our next show. Let's hope we can just split them and get back. I think it's been kind of nice. You had the weekend with those 2 games, and you've had a couple days off. You're getting Cooch back, who didn't play either of these games. So I think that's pretty big for this team. And I think Coach Coop's been saying that too. It's time for a reset, and I think hopefully this time off will do that for him. And we could get some help here because Zemgus Girgensons, he practiced on Tuesday. He should return soon. So that's a guy in the bottom 6 of your lineup that can help. He's gritty, really good on penalty kills and stuff like that. Great with his defense. So that's somebody we can really use. Like I said, Cooch is coming back. But we got to get better here. Before we go into the some of the call-ups and stuff and some of the injuries. Here's some guys who have to get it going, and that's Oliver Bjorkstrand. 1 goal, 2 assists in 6 games. I said he's really got to be a bigger factor on the power play. We saw it the first game. It was like clockwork, but just haven't seen it since, man. So need to get him going. Gage Gonsalves, 0 goals, 3 assists in 6 games, and only 1 shot on goal, man. And we looked at his point production last year, and so on pace with Kucherov in his first season as well. And so we're not seeing the same kind of production so far. Emil Lilberg, just stop being a complete idiot. That's you're. I'm already frustrated with you, but 15 minutes of penalties, -3 ±. Stop being an idiot, man. And then lastly, the heart and soul, one of the hearts and soul of this team, Brandon Hagel, man. You got to get going. You got to take charge. 0 goals, 1 assist so far this season. Those are guys who really have to step it up during this homestand. And I got some concerning stats for you guys. This is from Bulls Breakdown. I really like their stuff on Twitter. So far this season, their last place in face-off percentage in the league. I think that's been pretty evident. They're really struggling face-offs. They're 30th for shots a game. They are 29th in shots against a game, which means they allow the 4th most shots per game in the NHL. They are 22nd in goals for a game, and they are 23rd in goals against a game. So obviously the play hasn't been here. This hasn't been the standard that we've seen from your Tampa Bay Lightning. And I've showed you the stats. Some of the leaders on this team have got to step up. Obviously not having Cooch doesn't help, but you can't be a team that has to rely on Kucherov every minute of every game. You have to have your bottom 6 guys step up, and I think that really was evident today with the move, or I think yesterday it was, with the move they made of sending Connor Geekie down. They sent him down to AHL. He's got 1 assist, no goals in 6 games. We really need him to be kind of a depth piece, and he's a young guy, man. I mean, he's young, but we really were hoping he would take the next step and really be a factor for that bottom 6, but he just wasn't getting it done. So hopefully that'll change. I think, like I said, those defensive stats are horrible too. So the Lightning call up Charlie Edouard D'Astois. He's called up from the Syracuse Crunch. Interesting story about this guy. He signed with the Bolts this summer. He's 27 years old. He bounced around the AHL a bunch of teams. Played in Europe for 3 seasons with Cuckoo. He played for Team Cuckoo. In 110 games, he had 24 goals, 45 assists. And most recently, he played for SHL Brainas IF, where he had 12 goals and 27 assists in 48 games with them. And in Syracuse so far in 4 games, he has 1 goal and 2 assists. So I think biggest thing for him, this is somebody who's never gotten an NHL opportunity, and you're hoping not only can he play well defensively if he has a chance to get in, but you're also hoping maybe he can provide some offense as well that this team is lacking, and they're not getting quality shots up. They're not really shooting the puck at all. So hopefully that's just somebody who can add a spark, and hopefully, with the Connor Geeky move, this will get him going. This will light a spark under him, because we desperately need some guys to step up from top to bottom. So that's your Lightning talk, man. Make sure to support him this homestand. Try to get out for a game or two. Just give them all the support you need, and let's hope these guys step it up. And hopefully, when we get Colby and Joel next week, maybe we're talking about some good things. I think we'll be at least talking about a Buccaneers victory. I think you better get it together. But that's it, guys. Thank you for listening. This might have been a little bit of a rant, but due to show solo dolo, it's never easy. This is only the third one for me in history. I think Colby did one, so that's 4 total. And out of 103 episodes, we've done 4, and that's not including TBU, that's had quite a bit. So, yeah, you got to think about that, man. Just getting started. So if you listen all the way through, if you got to this point, let me know down in the comments, and I'll do a giveaway. If somebody, I'll give you like a, I'll do something for you. Comment down below that you made to this point, and just say something. Give me your thoughts. I kind of posted it late. I want to try to start doing it, but we are the voice of the fans, so we want to hear your stuff. So hopefully we're going to start getting more content with the Instagram going. Have you guys talk or ask questions, and we'll try to answer them on the show. That's something I'm trying to start doing. But other than that, I mean, follow the Instagram and Twitter. We'll keep you updated for everything. And I said it earlier, if you haven't watched the TBU Season 2, Episode 8, go ahead and watch that now, or hopefully you already did. But thank you for listening. Go Bucs, go Bolts, go Rays, go Bulls. Have a great night.